can your mainframe IT operations benefit from smarter analytics? Of all the systems in your data center, z/OS produces the most detailed performance and configuration data in the form of RMF and SMF. But most sites still use a 4 decades old process that generates hundreds of static reports, requiring cumbersome manual interpretation by deep experts. Consequently, the data is not used to predict and prevent upcoming performance problems, resolve incidents as they occur, or to spot ways to reduce peaks and costs. So modernize your approach to RMF and SMF and realize its full value. IntelliMagic applies artificial intelligence techniques to deliver the best actionable insights for performance, availability, and software cost reduction. Experience the power of evolving the questions you can make your data answer beyond just what went wrong to what is going wrong right now, and even what is about to go wrong and how can I prevent this. Learn more at IntelliMagic.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage, Richard Label.
Welcome back, everybody, to Share St. Louis. We have our keynote session packed with great presentations ahead for you, but we're going to kick off something new today, a competition amongst you all in our Share Your Knowledge team battle. Here's how it works. First, I want you to take out your smartphone, laptop, tablet. If you don't have one of those with you, please join us in 2018. All right, go get one. I want everybody to grab one, all right? If you have something on you, if you don't, look at the person next to you. You can play together, all right? We're going to divide you up into teams. So you need to go to share.cnf.io on your mobile device. Give you a second for that. Right there on the screen, you'll see it. Share.cnf.io. Choose open innovation and attracting the next gen of developers and architects. You'll see it right in there. And you can see join the team battle. So we're going to divide you up into teams. Don't worry, we'll come back how we're going to do that. Pick your team, and you'll answer each question as it appears as fast as you can. The team with the most players who can answer correctly and the quickest wins the most points. Points are awarded to second and third, too. If 2 or more teams have the same percentage of players who answer correctly, more points go to the fastest team. So back to picking your team. We struggled how to divide you up. Age clearly isn't going to work, all right? Because we'd have 99% of you on one team and about 8 kids on the other. So we went with time zones, where you're from, not where we're at right now. If you're in the Eastern zone, pick the Eastern team. I'm glad I explained that to you. All right. If you're outside of the 4 time zones listed, you can go on the international team. There's a map right there in case you're really not sure what time zone you're in. But hopefully we're there. Anybody not in yet? Okay, 1 person. It's not working on your phone? What, do you got a flip phone? That probably is not going to work. All right. Team points will be tallied on the screen once the game starts. Give or take, play with the person next to you, sir. Here we go. Ready for our first question? Excellent. This is running like a clock. There we go. Share began as the first ever enterprise IT user group back in what year? 1945, 1955, 1965, or 1595? I think James was the only one here in 1595. All right, so Great. This is working perfectly, just like we rehearsed. Question number 2. This is the SHARE program designed to get students excited about mainframe technology. SHARE Academic, Student Career Days, ZNextGen, or hashtag ShareSTL. Got 3 seconds, click in there. Maybe they're showing up in the back and we just can't see them. This is really more fun than you should be allowed to have at 8 in the morning, isn't it? Please do not rush the stage and beat me, okay? The Gateway Arch is known as the worldwide symbol in the city of St. Louis, created as a monument to westward expansion. It is the world's tallest arch, just as wide as it is tall. One of these is not true. Construction began in 1963, completed in 65. The cost to build it, and I didn't even get that out. Great. You know, when we do this next year, it's going to rock, okay? What's the name of the celebration you completed session evaluations you'll hear this week in St. Louis? Ruckus, hullabaloo, hoopla, adieu. Seriously, and you're in the front row. Come on with reserved seats. Nice job, everybody. Nobody's gotten anything right yet. All right. SHARE's mission to be an independent, volunteer-run information technology association that provides education, professional networking, and industry leader, industry influence, industry beacon, industry confluence. 1 second. There you go. Think these are adding up, Julie? She's left the room. Great. In 1904, the World's Fair in St. Louis popularized all of these new foods except one. Which is it? Hot dogs, ice cream cones, bananas Foster, or iced tea? All of those were in the 1904 World's Fair except one. Bananas Foster. I have a feeling it's adding it up somewhere. We just don't know about that yet. SHARE is an acronym for what? Share happily and reap endlessly, self-help and resource exchange, studying heady adults, recreational entertainment. It's not an acronym, it's what we do. It's not an acronym, it's what we do. Excellent. We only have about 35 more questions. All right, here we go. Which of these SHARE program managers is a candidate for tomorrow's elections? Carla Hauser, Rick Barlow, Dennis Fiergo, James Erdl. I'm sure it's Erdal, but I like Erdl, like Urkel. There it is, of course. Of course. I bet we're, oh good, we've stopped showing zeros. What mode of transportation was first raced in St. Louis in 1908? A steamboat, a balloon, a Model T Ford, or a minivan? First raced in St. Louis in 1908. It was actually a balloon. Balloon races. Balloon. There we go. SHARE is here to lend a hand in all of these except which one? Year-round education, valuable collaboration, year-long hand-holding, embracing discussions on timely challenges. You can. You're going to start heckling me now, Donna? All right, good, thanks. Which of these is not a hot topic on the SHARE St. Louis agenda? Security and enterprise, analytics, machine learning and cognitive, DevOps, the Starship Enterprise. It's really more something we're trying to get across and show you how well we're doing than it is a legit question I'm saying on that one. All right, here's a question I put in. The first United States kindergarten was started in St. Louis in 1873 by who? Susan Blow, Susan Gust, Susan Puff, Susan Whoosh. It's actually Susan Blow. Susan Blow. Not saying anything. Where in St. Louis can you learn about new products and solutions from 50 leading IT partners? SHARE Solutions Expo, SHARE Technology Exchange, SHARE On-Site Assistance, the Z-Escape. Maybe we should just play rock, paper, scissors again. That was, yeah, I know. Don't think I'm not stealing that for another client, all right? And the winner is, let's see, the Eastern team. Eastern team, nice job. It was adding it up. Who came in second? We'll just go with the Eastern team, huh? Give yourselves a nice round of applause. Is it hot in here, or is that just me? All right. All right, that's all the questions we have for today. Our winning team, nice job. How many people on the Eastern team raise up your hands? Okay, we have a $10 bill. You guys can split that. That'll be great. We'll do that right there. Thanks for participating. All right, we're going on to the main event here. In just a moment, I'm going to hand it over to the first group of presenters for today who will discuss the latest innovations for IBM Z and the z/OS environment. Now remember, throughout this session, you can submit, vote on, or like questions through that app in real time. At the end of their presentation, we're going to have them answer as many of those questions as we can get to, and we'll also collect answers to the rest of the questions and share them with you after the event. Quick reminder how the Q&A tool works. Open up that same app that you were just on, the Share St. Louis app, and you can click on Keynote Q&A widget in there. If you're not able to access the app, you can go to share.cnf.io again and pick on today's keynote presentation. All you have to do is push the Ask button if you want to ask a question, type it in, and select who you'd like to address that question. Once you see questions on there, you go, oh, I like that question, you can like it. The more likes a question gets, the higher up in the queue it becomes. So get a lot of people liking a question, that'll shoot it right up to the top. All right, without further ado, let's bring up today's speakers, John, Andy, Greg, and Barry. Come on up here, gentlemen. How are you, sir? Welcome. Thank you very much. Hi, nice to see you again. Hello. How are you? Good, nice. Good to see you. How are you, Pat? Good, good. All right, let me do a quick intro on each one. First is John Mertic. John is the Director of Program Management at the Linux Foundation, where he leads ODPI, our consortium, the Open Mainframe Project. John comes from a PHP and open source background. Previously, he had been the Director of Business Development Software Alliances at Bitnami, a developer and a partnership leader at Sugar CRM. Next to him, we have Andy Younes, the President and CEO of Rocket Software. Andy co-founded Rocket in 1990 and continues to guide the company's growth through strategic technology, investments, acquisitions, partnerships, including actively managing Rocket's long-standing relationship with the good folks at IBM. He's also a guitarist and a pianist and has given talks on the connections between the links between music, software, entrepreneurship, and business. Right next to him is Greg Lotko, General Manager of Mainframe at CA Technologies. He was originally responsible for leading engineering for all mainframe projects and was recently promoted to General Manager. Congratulations. Now, many of you might know Greg as he's spent 29 years with IBM. He was a member of the CEO's Growth and Transformation team and the Vice President and Worldwide Head of Development for IBM's Storage and Software-Defined Infrastructure portfolio as part of that systems unit. And last but not least, Barry Baker on the end, the Vice President of IBM Z Software. He's responsible for the IBM Z Software portfolio, including strategy, product and offering management, software design and development, and support. He's been with IBM almost 20 years, where the majority of his career has been focused on the development, delivery, and support of mission-critical operating systems, middleware, and database software on IBM Z. So let's give him a nice hand for being here today, huh?
You too.
John, I'm going to have you start and some opening comments, and we'll just go right down the line.
Well, thank you, Richard. And I have to say, I'm really honored to be with a panel of gentlemen like this, and frankly, in front of all of you here as well. I've only been around the mainframe ecosystem for about 3 years now, which, compared to probably this audience here, it's barely in the infancy. And I'm really honored about that. And I love the heritage and where this industry, where this ecosystem comes from. A favorite show of mine is American Pickers, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with it. And one cool part of American Pickers is the junk that they find in people's closets and stuff. But really what appreciates me is when Mike and Frank get on there and they talk about where things have came from and how it pulls forward to the future. And I look at that so much with the mainframe ecosystem. 54 years ago, the principles of what a mainframe was about, security, performance, availability, scalability, all of that carries through to the boxes that IBM are shipping today. And if I look at market surveys, we just did a survey at the Open Mainframe Project where we asked IT decision buyers, what are the key attributes that you look for when you're buying? Those 4 things picked right at the top. Those 4 things were of the top 5 things that a buyer was looking for. Now, it's true that the IT infrastructure has changed over time, right? I mean, if you go back decades, maybe even just a decade ago, you had a single architecture, you had your single data center. That's all shifted. Now we have the cloud, we have servers everywhere, we have process everywhere, we have IoT, we have edge processing. What's interesting, though, is many believe, okay, does that mean the old systems are gone? They don't matter anymore? Actually, we asked that question to also a number of IT leaders, and they said, hey, we look at a system like the mainframe, it's not being replaced by cloud. It's actually augmenting cloud. It's actually going to be a part of that, right? We live in an era where you have so many technology choices for an organization that you're able to leverage. And open source is that thread that pulls it all together. It's pervasive, it's ubiquitous within IT, all up and down the stack, virtualization, containerization, and whatnot. And it's all part of an organization's digital transformation efforts, their strategy within that area. Now, another interesting trend that we see is the buying decision. It used to be very top-down. It used to be very executive-driven. Now, the developers are in charge of that buying decision. I mean, they're not maybe the ones signing the checks, but they're the ones with the primary influence of what technology an organization goes with. The executives are looking, the leadership are looking to that. And those developers, they're making that determination by how easy can I get my hands on it? Is it open source? Because open source, that's a low barrier. I can go use that right away. I don't need to go a requisition. I don't need to go buy something. I don't need to get permission. And how easy it is to suck in that technology, how easy it is to me leverage that. So you see microservices, you see APIs, that's leading the way. You see that preferred to a full stack approach. So if we all sit here in the room, here's the challenge I see in front of us. How does mainframe adapt to this new world? So there's a famous NBA head coach, Pat Riley. I'm sure you all have heard of him. He's also the general manager of the Miami Heat. And there's a story of his where he went whitewater rafting. And I've never been whitewater rafting before, but from the story, he says that before you get in the boat, they give you all these safety instructions of things to do. And the last thing they tell you at the very end is, if you fall out of the boat, you can't just sit there like a bobber and hope somebody comes finds you, because there's rushing water coming right at you here. You have to try to swim back to the boat. You actually have to be an active participant in your own rescue. So if we look at the vision of the Open Mainframe Project, we see open source on the mainframe as the standard for enterprise class systems and applications. And the only way that that gets achieved is by everyone in this room being that active participant, everyone having an equal seat at the table, everyone bringing their technology, everyone bringing their thoughts, their experiences to this group. And how we're looking to achieve this, how we're looking to have this first step forward towards this, specifically for the z/OS ecosystem, is a project called Zoe, which we're going to talk about today. And these gentlemen here are going to talk a little bit more about the technical aspects of it. What it is, it's aimed to connect modern applications and tools back to z/OS workloads. But what's interesting to me from an open source background is really 2 things. One, this is the first time that an open source project has ever been launched on z/OS. I mean, that is a crowning achievement of this ecosystem, is that open source is coming here. And being an open source project, now everybody in this community, they have a part of it. If you're a vendor, you can build solutions on top of this, and now you are part of a larger ecosystem that you can tap into, and you can help contribute upstream to make your solutions more compliant. If you're a customer in the audience here, you can leverage this larger ecosystem for deriving that increased use of the z/OS technologies within your organization. But coming back, really the big thing is the open participation. This gives everyone that seat at the table, and it gives them the ability to what a gentleman by the name of John Mark Walter quoted, your software supply chain, where you're getting your software from. No more are you kind of stuck with, hey, a vendor says you're out, your software is end of life, you can't do anything about it. No, you have a seat at the table of directing where that technology goes. You can contribute back, you can participate upstream. So it's really, really an exciting time for this ecosystem here. So I want to hand it off to each of these gentlemen to talk about what their companies are bringing to the table here. And first I want to hand it off to Andy Eunice.
Thanks, John. So this is a conversation, and you guys are free to, as you know, ask questions, but also applaud when you hear things you like. And so John said something really important. This is the first time that open source has been brought to z/OS. So I want to make sure we all applaud that. And secondly, it's great to be here in St. Louis. For those who know a little bit about the Rocket story, you can trace some of our roots back here to St. Louis. About 20 years ago, we started coming to St. Louis to work with one of our favorite customers and close customers. Back at the time was SBC and is now AT&T. And many of the technologies that you see in the market come from our history here in this city. So it's great to be here with you. So today we have an exciting announcement. You'll hear all of us talk about it in this session, and then we'll repeat this messaging throughout the day and throughout the week. Also, this is the first time that you've seen the three of us on stage together, Rocket, CA, and IBM. So this is a big day for the entire ecosystem. So I think you're going to like what you hear today because it's something that you've been asking us to do for at least the past decade. We are all big believers in open source as an accelerator for widespread adoption of new technologies and platforms. As we've all stayed focused on the mainframe ecosystem, we've seen other new technologies elsewhere get created and spread quickly. We've seen that open source is a way to invite new software engineers, new applications, and new workloads, what I would call new experiences, into a community or even to create a community. And you've told us that you believe this too. You've also told us that making z/OS open is an important step in ensuring continued growth and longevity of the platform. And you've also asked us, why can't we all work together for the good of the ecosystem, for the good of the platform, and for the good of the community? And so at its core, that's everything that Zoe is. Zoe is open. Zoe creates a level playing field for developers and organizations that rely on mainframes. Zoe makes Z as modern as any other computing platform today. Zoe lets everyone, from university students to the most tenured software engineers, take advantage of the mainframe's incredible power. Zoe makes the mainframe agile, not just powerful. And Zoe creates a true community, both within an organization and between organizations, because it offers an open source structure that encourages real collaboration. Zoe makes the mainframe new again. And I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Greg to share some of his remarks.
Thanks a lot, Andy. So I think those are the Zoeisms. Do we just
Those are the Zoeisms.
point a phrase? I like those a lot, quite a bit. So if you think back to kind of the context that was set with the OMP, it really is about recognizing that mainframe is key to the enterprises out there, right? And it's not about, keeping everything on the mainframe or keeping everything in the mainframe, but recognizing the way the landscape has been changing, that it's not just from mainframe to distributed or from mainframe and on mainframe. It's about that integrated ecosystem that really goes kind of the mobile to the mainframe and how do you use those technologies together. It really is about how do you make these environments more common in the way that you interact and access, recognizing that they link together. And at CA, we went through an agile transformation, and it was really that transformation and understanding of kind of the tie between distributed and mainframe that led us to where we are as kind of part of this. we had a bunch of new developers together, millennials, if you will, that were working on the platform, and they knew the mainframe tools. We had taught them about them, but they wanted to use tools that they were familiar with from things that they had done in college, in internships, maybe with other companies. And they had this desire to have an abstraction layer for the mainframe and to use that across the products that were available. So they kind of had this idea as part of their own innovation sprint of saying, hey, you know, I'd really like to have a command line interface to be able to invoke RESTful APIs. And they went off on their own and started tinkering and designing this. In the true spirit of kind of open, they did it for themselves. This was not something we set out from a product management perspective. We actually discovered it during a demo or a readout of how people were doing within their sprints. And when we saw it, we knew that these folks were onto something. We said, wow, this is absolutely game-changing. And for us, that part of our contribution is the genesis of what became Brightside. You know, the ability to control, to script, and develop for the mainframe like any other platform, yet be able to leverage the inherent strengths and capabilities of the platform. And that command line interface allows and supports for folks to be able to use the tools that they want to, that they're familiar with. It does not lock them in. It's inherently the idea of opening up. And it allows for that cross-enterprise DevOps transformation and innovation to leverage the investments that you've made today. So why didn't we keep that portion to ourselves? Why didn't we just say, oh, you know, we're gonna charge for that, we'll monetize? We saw how transformational it was for us. The idea of how it took those newer developers, got them energized and excited about the platform, made them more nimble, made the mainframe more consumable, and it brought the value of the mainframe across the entire organization. And it wasn't just the excitement that we saw in those millennials, it was the seasoned professionals that said, wow, this is really cool stuff. I have choice. I can now do things in different ways and reduce my cycle time. We use it in developing our own products. We absolutely believe in an open mainframe. Innovation thrives in communities. You know, before we were open, we saw that. We saw that we came together in groups like this with Share, when sharing our knowledge and talking about our common challenges, talking about the things that we were trying to resolve, that openness of communication helped drive innovation within our organizations using the platform, the mainframe platform. Now you have a choice with this announcement, and Zoe is that new platform that's open for innovation to allow you to access and work with the mainframe. Now, Andy talked about it being the first time the three of us are on stage, and that you asked us to do it. You actually asked us, including all of you, to do this. We really just helped with kind of nudging it along and getting a framework put in place, and each of us contributing technologies. The future of innovation for this platform, whether you work for a customer, a partner, one of the many vendors on the platform, the future of the innovation is about this entire community for the platform. With that, I kind of turn it over to Barry. Let's hear your perspective.
All right, thanks, Greg. So first, I do want to take a minute and just thank both CA and Rocket for the level of collaboration that we've been able to do over the last number of months to get to this point. And I really want to thank the OMP for providing the structure and the thank you.
Applause for everyone.
And the structure and the guidance to really help us work through the issues on how we, as three separate companies, bring something together in an open source fashion. So I really want to thank you all for that. I also want to go back to a couple of points, John, that you made. First, going back to those results from the Open Mainframe survey, the enduring strengths of the platform remain, right? It's around security, performance, scalability, availability, data integrity. That's why this platform remains the foundation of some of the most important production workloads that run out in the wild, if you will. It is actually also a reason why, I know me personally, why I've stayed for almost 20 years working on this platform is it's the why. I get up every day because I know the workloads that depend on the platform. And I'd assume many of you in the room have a similar point of view on what gets you motivated. So the issue, though, and what's really missing when you look at that is some other attributes, the attributes around agility, flexibility, and speed. And to me, this is really what we're talking about with Zoe. In addition, John, your points around the developer and the rising influence of the developer. All of us, I think, have to take a step back and figure out how we can enable all of the developers to move with speed, because this is actually really the linchpin for us to enable new workload on this platform. John, you also mentioned the idea of moving everything moving everything to one architecture or platform, and that is an idea that's actually on the decline. It's actually waning. Heterogeneity is less and less of a concern because of the continued march of open standards, open source, and open interfaces and APIs. And this actually brings me to IBM's initial contribution to Zoe. We're going to be making available today a z/OS framework that provides REST-based services or APIs that allow you to rapidly integrate new technology, tools, languages, and modern workflows with z/OS. You guys can applaud. To me, this is also an explicit acknowledgement that it's really not likely or even possible for one tool vendor to provide everything. The marketplace is too dynamic, there is just too many needs, and things move really fast, and what we really need to do is focus on enabling easy integration across many tool chains so that development and operations teams can really assemble in a rapid fashion their workflow from a palette of options. And this is what Zoe will enable. So with the z/OS Explorer core that IBM is contributing to open source today, you'll get a set of discoverable services or building blocks, which will be used across the Zoe Foundation. So there are APIs for creating and manipulating jobs, MVS resources, USS resources, and it builds upon the existing services provided by ZOSMF. This set of services we intend to continue to grow and help raise the level of abstraction from low-level resource management to moving into spaces where we can enable application developers and operators to really configure their environments and application environments for what they need and really drive them through a CI/CD pipeline of their choice. In addition to the APIs, we also included a zero-install client that lets you browse and have visibility into those resources. So to pull this together, what new people expect from a platform today is for it to be open, scriptable, and easily integrated into both a heterogeneous architecture and a heterogeneous tool chain. This is how you enable developer speed, and between Rocket, CA, and IBM, we've planted the seed with our initial contributions. Additionally, IBM has issued a statement of direction today where we will be enhancing our existing offerings to build on and run on top of Zoe, and we'll be creating new offerings that take advantage of the Zoe technology. So again, I just want to thank you all for the contribution. It's really been great, and back to you, Greg.
Great, excellent. How about a nice hand
Richard,
for our
sorry.
panel, huh? Great job, guys. A lot of information right there, all right? So I got a couple questions I'm going to queue up here. Feel free to, I'll give one to each of you, but feel free to chime in if you have something to say, and then we'll go out to your questions. So, John, what do you expect to see in the future coming from all this?
Well, it's a great question, and I'm not one that likes to predict the future, but if I look at where this community has come from, It's actually interesting. You could trace the open source movement back to the formation of Share in 1955. So this spirit of community, the spirit of everybody working together, it's led to this group coming together, that's for sure. And it continues to permutate on. So, opening up and giving an opportunity for everyone to have a stake in the game, everyone to have an opportunity to participate, I see this as a bright opening here. And I see this as something that's really going to make the industry pause and say, hey, this technology, is this something we should be taking another look at? So for me, I'm really excited. I think the open source implications are exciting. And I know as we look across our projects at the Linux Foundation, we look at what's going on here and we see, wow, this is another story of how open source is taking an ecosystem or industry that might have been once very proprietary and opening it up to the world. And that's just really exciting.
Great. Andy, what business problem does Zoe solve for organizations that really rely on the mainframe?
So, I mean, it's, again, a great question, a really open question. Open source, I think, is really caught on because it solves lots of different business problems, but I will focus on one to answer your question.
Sure.
And I would say for all of you to bring back with you the fact that Zoe can really help solve the problem of what I would call the skills gap. As I talk to CIOs around the world and we talk about Z, we talk about the mainframe, what I hear pretty consistently is, it's a platform that organizations love, enterprises love, but CIOs worry about the skills gap. Where am I going to find that next generation of engineers who can really bring value to that platform, bring applications and solve business problems on that platform? And now with Zoe, with the openness, both in terms of APIs and scripting and user interfaces and user experiences, engineers of all different shapes and sizes can really be productive on the platform instantly. Because it's open, it looks like and it feels like and it operates like, and you can develop on it like any other platform today, any other technology, modern technology today. So I think if I had to pick one, I'd say that Zoe really focuses on and helps address that concern that CIOs have around the skills gap.
Okay, great. Greg, why do you think Zoe becomes so important for the future of the mainframe?
Yeah, so I think first and foremost, I'd agree with Andy. I think skills is top on the list, and being able to leverage the capability of the platform. But I think at the end of the day, it all becomes about time to market. And when I say time to market, I don't mean time for us to get our technologies out to the market. I mean time to market for you guys to develop the apps, the capabilities, the enhancements within operations, to create new offerings and new capabilities in your environments for your end customers, leveraging the technology. So I think part of Zoe that's really important and will really drive it forward is not just what we've all contributed and what is within Zoe and what you all can continue to contribute, but as Barry said, IBM opening up their products so that you have the hooks and the tie-in. And I know what Andy's thinking on this, so I won't speak for both of us. We'll let him chime in. But CA is absolutely committed to the same. The idea is about both sides of the equation. All the things that we're putting into open source, but IBM opening up their portfolio with the hooks into it, us opening up our portfolio from CA for the hooks in, and obviously Andy's nodding. So it's both of those things that really drive it forward for time to market for all of you in the ecosystem.
All right. Barry, what's next for Zoe?
So what's next for Zoe is an interesting question. I think what happens usually at a conference like this is a vendor stands up and announces the GA of an offering, and then we try to sell it to you. I don't think that's what we did here today. I don't even think we really announced anything, except what we really did was we gave you all an invitation to join in.
Absolutely.
Us on stage represent the teams that started this effort. So from my perspective, I'm excited to see, and really the invitation is for you all. I'm really interested to see where you all take Zoe, right? It's not going to be about us controlling it. It's about where you all take Zoe.
we're the three parents, right?
Yes.
But we're not sending it up for adoption. It's more of a it takes a village, right, to
Yes.
raise it.
And who's he, your chauffeur? Or what's going on?
Sherpa, whatever. I mean,
I
The
think he's
minivan.
more of the daycare provider. Just saying, for the referee.
Good. All right, so I have some questions from the audience. Big one here, 29 people like this. Unix is open and it creates security exposures. How are you going to ensure ZOS Integrity's record?
That's a good question. I think by what we're doing with Zoe, I don't believe it changes any of the fundamentals of what we build upon. So we build upon the foundation that's provided by ZOS, right? And it's more about how do we help move with speed, and that does not mean we have to open up any exposures or anything like that. We still build on top of that foundation that the OMP survey data said was critical. This is about building on top of that, not changing or getting rid of anything that's there.
We're not diminishing or undercutting or
Right.
gutting. It's more about providing
It's not
access.
about backdoors. It's not about,
It's building openness on top of all
correct.
of that.
Yep.
Great.
no, go ahead.
Just breathing. All right. Good. Keep doing
Does
that.
it say 0?
What's that?
Does it
Zero.
say 0 on your
All these
we-
questions, all these questions have 0 votes.
There's a ton. No, that one had 29. Here's another big one up in the 20s. What's the long-term commitment to Zoe? Good question.
I'll
So,
start with that.
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. So the long-term commitment, I can speak for Rocket, and we were talking about this earlier. All of our mainframe R&D investments at Rocket, every product is now being re-engineered to sit on top of Zoe. So our commitment to bring Zoe alive through our offerings is something that's happening. It's being operationalized throughout our entire R&D organization. On the other end, we're committed to contributing to Zoe. But I want to amplify what Greg and Barry said. Zoe cannot just be a project for the three of us. It has to be a project that all of us are committed to. And so it is a good question you're asking us, and each one of us will talk about it. But after you get through today, you sit through the session and you sit through some of the other sessions today, it's really a good question to ask yourself. Are you going to commit to contributing to this open source platform? Because if you are, then Zoe just gets bigger and better and more usable by the entire community. And if you just count on us to do it, we won't get there fast enough.
I think that was well said. I mean, you could also ask the question, how committed are we to the mainframe? How committed are you to the mainframe? It's,
Right.
we're in this to help our customers and partners and all of them be successful. So we're absolutely committed to opening up our platform. We're absolutely committed to contributing and participating in Zoe. We've all kind of ponied up resources that are already actively engaged. We need to see the commitment ongoing from you guys as well.
Good.
Yeah, and just to echo the point, you'll see later throughout in other sessions more of the details of the makeup of the current team. We've all staffed, there's about 5 or 6 squads working on this technology to keep it going. And to echo the points and back to what I mentioned earlier, we're in IBM already going through the process of doing exactly what Andy said in terms of moving as much as we can, as fast as we can, over to this technology. That includes us going through all of our roadmaps and making adjustments to them and working through that timeline.
And honestly, that was a foundational conversation amongst the 4 of us, right? Not just the daycare provider guiding us to that, but the idea that it had to be that it had to be both ways. That it had to be about what we were contributing in, and how we were going to tie and connect across our portfolios.
And speaking from the daycare provider, that's an interesting. It's a really key point. I mean, look, let's not joke. There's millions of open source projects out there, and if I were doing a rendition of a Jim Zemlin keynote, I would have this chart here saying which ones matter, and all of them matter, but the key ones that we at the Linux Foundation focus on are the ones that have sustainable ecosystems. We don't look for a project to last a year, 2 years, 3 years. We're looking at ones that how do they need to through generations? How do they need to cover the long term? I mean, this is why we do investments in cloud technology, web dev, the networking stack. We just launched a project around the academy, the Motion Arts and Sciences. Mainframe sits the same way, 54 years young, and we see this community committed that they want this to go another 54 years, probably more. And that's why we're involved, because we're the people that we get involved with ecosystems that want to be sustainable for the long term. And Zoe's a step forward to help make that happen.
Barry, you mentioned the session. We have, just to let you know, it's in room 106 today at 11:15. So session 23-760, room 106 at 11:15. All right.
Thank you.
Back to our questions. Do you expect... Oh, one of them got moved down. This shot up to the top. Do you expect contributions from outside the mainframe community to Zoe?
I certainly hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think those would actually be some of the best ones to get. There's such great technologists out there that could add so much to the value of what's going on mainframe. I mean, that's something that we've been just trying to, from an open mainframe project perspective, trying to cross-pollinate. One of our earliest projects we launched was Anomaly Detection Engine, which was taking Z-Aware, the core pieces of that, and bringing it to the broad Linux community. So I think there's tons that can be learned from both sides that could help make the platform stronger.
Yeah, I would say that we're just scratching the surface on this. Those outside the mainframe community know a lot more about open source than we do, and there's a lot more that they hopefully will contribute to Zoe to make Zoe more ubiquitous.
Yeah, I mean, the whole idea is open, right? So let's have them participate and play with the cool kids in the room, right?
Right. Do you expect this
You could
initiative...
have applauded for yourselves. You're all cool, right? And kids. Two
I
compliments.
think they're holding it in just to explode at the end.
Yeah.
Do you expect this initiative to increase mainframe mindshare around the world?
Yeah.
I would hope so, yeah.
Short answer, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, just back to the points on the world is getting more heterogeneous, right? And so the more we work with our clients that are actually, they have cloud strategies, they're trying to open up the mainframe, they're trying to integrate it more broadly, the more we do that, the more we get in terms of people actually being aware of the mainframe, right? Let alone actually doing things with it and integrating with it. So yes.
Yeah, tying it back to that security and everything, we keep saying open. I actually get why people ask
Yep.
that
Oh, yeah.
security question, but maybe we need to be open, simple, familiar, but remind them, but secure. That isn't going away.
Right.
Yeah. And open is an enabler for secure. I mean, more and more you see open source software, it tends to be more secure than its proprietary counterparts. More eyes on it, more opportunities to find the glaring holes. It ends up being just a giant benefit. And you have a community of people here that can find all of the issues, they can find all the things that need to get tweaked, that can be that active participant. It's a great time.
All right, so with the open nature of Zoe, will there be more options for personal use, ZOS, for independent research?
Repeat the last part of it. Sorry, I just didn't hear it.
Wants to know if you can run
With the
ZOS
open
on
nature
your
of
iPhone.
Zoe, will there be more options for personal use ZOS for independent research?
So we have ZD&T, which allows you to run a full ZOS stack, and you can run Zoe on top of it on a laptop. So I don't know how more individual or personalized I can get. We can look at other options. We do have some things in the works and some betas around ZOS as a service as an offering that builds on top of that. So yeah, we always are looking for ways to do that and trying to drive interest there, yes.
All right. It's a question that keeps going up to 1 and then keeps dropping to 2, but I'm going to read it. Which company approached who to start the Zoe project?
Yes.
I think what you're saying is buy him a drink and he'll tell you the story.
I think we all thought about this similarly, which is we each had technology that we were developing that we could bring to market on our own in the typical closed proprietary way. And I think we've all been in this long enough to say, we see that open source project over there is successful and that one's successful, and why do we keep doing everything closed? This is an awesome ecosystem. It runs the most important applications in the world. We talked to CIO after CIO after CIO who wants to get more value out of their mainframe, and the light bulb went off and said, hey, we should make this open. We should make this open like everything else out there so that Z is thought of as a first-class citizen in any computing fabric for any application that you want to bring to market for all the reasons that we talked about. And it's just one of those magical moments. And, you know, look, the three of us know each other well. We've been working together for many, many years, and it just felt like the right thing at the right time. Maybe, in your opinion, it's a little bit late. We should have done this many years ago, but here we are. It all happened, kind of, that spark happened at the same moment with all of us. So it's really, it's a good question, but it wasn't really like, here's who started it and here's who followed. We all just got together, and this was the right idea for the right time.
I think it's not as important who first. Honestly, I don't even know that I know the answer. That's why I said yes. I think each of us had a component and a capability and something we were thinking about, and we all kind of had that what if epiphany. And, you know, I don't know if one talked to the other first or here or there, but there was this groundswell of realization that this could be so much more if it was something across the community, and that we thought it was important for us to display that this could be done, to participate as partners, but immediately turn around on launch and contribute it to bring folks, all of you, together. So it was the idea of recognizing this ends up being good for one and good for all, and I mean that as companies and everybody that can participate, because it advances the platform that we all know and love and allows us all together to deliver greater capabilities to our end consumers, our customers.
So if you have to pick somebody, just say it was me. You know? Okay. Just say it was Richard's idea, and he came to us.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
That Richard.
That Richard.
I tell you what.
What a genius.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
What an idiot. All right. When we create shortcuts to address skills gaps, it has a bad side effect. Over time, very few know the inner workings of the system. How do we plan to balance between these two conflicting things?
I don't see it as a shortcut that subsumes, you know, all the other widgets and dials and capabilities. It's more of a different access point that allows you to leverage the inherent capabilities across all of our portfolios. And look, I mean, we're independent providers of software capabilities, as are many of you in the room. We're going to continue to invest in our core products and differentiate on capabilities and performance and ease of use and all that kind of stuff. Right. But I mean, this is a confidence in each of us in our portfolios that we have differentiation there, that contributing commonly, so that those customers who aren't going to get down to that layer can move more easily and flexibly across those things. And that doesn't mean swap out necessarily one's portfolio for the others. It may be, you know, I like this portion of yours best, I like this portion of yours best, this portion of mine best, and how do I have that freedom and flexibility of choice and be able to tie them all together and use them in a common way? So it's not a shortcut that devalues the core inherent capabilities underneath. It's just another route and another capability.
Good answer. How do I contribute to Zoe?
I guess that's where the daycare provider has to come in.
Well, that stuck.
Boom. So this is an open source project on GitHub. You can go right today, github.com/Zoe or zoe.org. You can learn about the contribution guidelines. The code is under an Eclipse public license version 2, so it's easy to contribute to. There's no complicated CLAs or anything like that involved. And you can just start digging into the code. You can read the contribution guidelines that each of the various repos has, and you can just basically start issuing pull requests.
So how can they dig into details about Zoe?
So start at zoe.org. There's some great documentation. The teams have been working on kind of bringing all the documentation from their various pieces together. And so that's a great starting point just to understand about the architecture, building extensions, how it all sort of fits together. And then your second piece is you can dump right into the exact code. And the code's up there right now. You can go to github.com/Zoe and you can see the source code.
There's also a set of Slack channels, and there's a mailing list that are there. So
Yep.
if you can't get to Slack, you can use the mailing list, or you can use both. But all of those are live now.
Those are email lists, right?
Yes.
All right, we have time for one last question. I'm going to give you a softball. What does Zoe stand for? Is it an acronym, or where did you come up
Not
with
an
it?
acronym.
It's like share. It's not an acronym.
Yeah.
Not a share. It's,
Yeah.
it's what
Just
you
like
do.
share.
It's what we do.
Zoe.
Any backstory on it or nothing?
Well, there's not a lot of backstory except that it took us a long time to get to a name that we could get approval on across all the companies and across everything. And I think
Trademarks are hard.
it's not an acronym, but it's got a Z in it. It's got an O in it for open. It's got a little bit of a W
And
E
we.
and a we
For
for,
a
it's got
we for
we.
collaboration.
the open for
Or
we.
Yes. so
Let's have a nice hand. Huh? Let's give them a nice hand. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
There you go. Thanks a lot. Excellent. Good
you.
job.